Billy. This is my UNCC class, and today is the last day of the semester.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so everybody, this is Billy Fajardo.
Hello, everyone.
So we have a couple of questions for you. This semester, we were focusing on bachata, the life in bachata, the dance of bachata, but very important for us is to also talk about like, what is bachata being represented, how is it being represented, and how big is actually playing a role in the dance community worldwide. So we are very excited to be talking to you about that because we know that you've been around since the beginning of time of dance.
Thank you. Thank you. All of 1,000 years. Yeah.
And we're so thankful and proud to call you our coach too. So our experience with you has been really amazing, like the way you have been shaping us to get better and better every day. So Billy, when did you start dancing?
When what?
When did you start dancing and where?
New York City, the Bronx, in the street. I was doing high rock, 1970, I think it's 71. That's a long time ago. I was young.
How old were you?
1971 will put me 28. Let me subtract. I will be like 13, 14 years old.
Wow. So at this point, you had just started dancing, and when did you start doing it professionally?
I started dancing in the streets and block parties and what we used to call red light parties. Those are hooky parties. You know what hooky parties are?
No.
Hooky. I shouldn't say this to your students, but I'm going to say it anyway. So back then, when we didn't want to do the classes at 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning or 11 or 12 o'clock in the morning, you'll get always somebody that says, hey, let's go to this person's house. And basically they'll have a red light. And we used to dance slow to like R&B music, and it would be a version of what Kazumba is, so to speak, and bachata is. It's like very grimy and very tight. And we're like 15, 14 years old. It was ridiculous. Okay. But we did that, and a lot of us failed school because of it. But that's what we did. We did that. So I did that for about a year or two. I think when, let me think, 4 years later, 1975, 4 or 5 years, I think I was 18. Mm-hmm. I got my first professional job. This company saw me dance socially in a club called the Ipanema, which was on 52nd Street in Manhattan. It was a discotheque that was right across the street from the famous Roseland Ballroom. And Roseland Ballroom has been around since the turn of the century. And they offered me a job to do something called the biggest disco in town, which is being held in Madison Square Garden. And Gloria Gaynor and some of the big disco stars were there. And they hired me, and I made, I think I had a rent tuxedo that they paid for, a white tuxedo. And I danced on a platform in the middle of the dance floor. I think I got paid $100.
Wow, which was a lot of money in that time.
Yeah, but I had to rehearse like for 2 days. They were teching us because we had to. They put us on risers. Mm-hmm. Like for instance, this concert. If you ever been to Madison Square Garden, it's got like 25,000 seats, and in the middle of it is where they use a basketball court and they do all of that. So it's portable, everything. So what they did is that they put seats downstairs as well, but they put risers. So there was 4 of them. And I remember the company was New York Hustle Incorporated. They were a dance studio, and they saw us and they hired me. They hired this other guy. I knew Floyd. And then 2 people from their dance company.
Oh, wow. So you were also there when salsa started making a scene, when it first started to come out into the scene. And before that, you were already dancing professionally hustle, correct?
Yeah, but we always danced salsa. Salsa was something that I did with my family.
Oh, okay. And now, when did you start seeing bachata coming into the scene?
I think it was like, I want to say, wow, it was so long. Bachata's been around for a long time. Let's first establish that. But worldwide, or when it started to pop up in the United States, I got to go back maybe to, wow, 2000. And the person that came to me, because I had owned IHSC in Miami. That's a dance event. That's multi-dance event. And Ohe from no, not Ohe. We have, it's a mutual friend. I just forget his name. Heavy set guy, sold a lot of videos, VHSs, teaching. Ohe, him. He came to me like in 2000, 2001, saying, hey, this is new dance. I got a lot of people doing it. They're buying my videos. Can I do your event? And then I became aware of it. I said, oh, really? And I went, okay. And then that's when I started to realize, oh, there's a movement going on. But bachata has been around since the 50s, 40s. That's something they did in the plazas in Dominican Republic.
Right. Yeah.
It's part of their folklorico. It's part of their culture.
Yes. Oh, wow. Okay. And so when they came part of the scene, did you think it was going to take over just like bachata did? Because I know, like, when I first started dancing about 13 years ago, we would go out dancing and bachata was like a break, like if you needed to go to the bathroom, they would play bachata from the salsa.
Right. They'll play bachata, they'll play merengue, they'll play cha-cha-cha, all the alternative Latin dances. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think that the whole thing about bachata is that the sensual bachata, that form is what really made it more popular than anything.
Okay.
The Dominican style wasn't really brought to the forefront until people started to do bachata in the sensual way. And then they say, wait a second, this is a traditional way, and this is what's supposed to be. Because of course, that whole argument about it's not authentic bachata unless you do it Dominican style, which to some point they got a point there, don't they? I mean, you take a dance and you not distort it, or you reevaluate it and present it in a different fashion to the music. Doesn't mean it has to be called bachata, but because the music is bachata, I guess they had no choice but to do that, right? Coqui and all of them in Spain, and that's what they did. But I think that sensual bachata movement, because it is a simpler form. Not everybody can do the roles and isolations perfectly, but for a male to stand there and have a girl in a frame and just try to shape her and she looks sexy is basically what sensual bachata is.
Right.
Let's really, and then maybe you might do a basic in between, here or there, but so I don't think, I think that form made it possible for the Europeans to really jump on the bandwagon, Spain, France, all the other countries. And that's what really expanded. I without a doubt, I think so.
So sensual bachata helped broaden the horizon of bachata worldwide. And
I think so.
And do you think that it was, or was there more of a kind of like a fight between that, because it was created in Spain and not in Dominican Republic? Do you think
there's always a fight? There's a fight. People always looking to pick a fight. It doesn't matter.
Right.
No matter what subject it is. But yes, without a doubt, there are not happy Dominicans.
Yeah.
They're not happy about what's going on with the bachata, at least the people I speak to.
Right.
They always express, hey man, why did it take this stand, distort it, make it this, make it that. This is what it is. We have a heritage, there's a cultural thing. Why don't you respect it? You kind of have to say, okay, you got a point there. But they would have never been aware of any of that if the Spaniards didn't do what they did. Right. So you have to take a look at it that way, right?
Absolutely.
The bachata music itself, blew up.
Right.
So I always felt it's not so much the dance. I mean, the music started to explode. People like the music, of course, because you can't dance without the music first. the music has to come first.
Uh-huh.
So when you have the companies behind them and you have all this, engine advertising it and pushing it, the dance is going to grow.
Right. And I guess every dance style has to go through that, because I bet I wasn't around when mambo was around, but then when salsa took a different shift, or son, if there wasn't a change or new ideas coming in, then we wouldn't have what we have now, salsa, right? So same thing with bachata as well.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that happened with salsa, the thing that happened to mambo and didn't become fashionable anymore is because there was a need to do, the dance was evolving. You had turn patterns that were added. Like mambo didn't have the intricate turn patterns it has today, salsa has today, right? So
Right.
there was a turning point in the 70s where we would do turn patterns, but they never, ever traveled from either side. It was always, we face each other, and it was a true spot dance.
Oh.
So the turn patterns were in place. As it grew and you get the hustle was a little more equal and opposite, where we were exchanging sides more so than just staying in our spot.
Right.
That made it possible for turn patterns to intertwine with the salsa scene, the mambo salsa scene that was coming up in the 70s. So now, as that evolved, Eddie and this Joan, this ballroom teacher, Joan, that she had a studio on, I keep thinking the address, I think it's 48th and 7th Avenue on the second floor, but Eddie could correct me, but I think that's it, because I've been to the studio many times. And they reevaluated how he was stepping and what made it possible for him to do turn patterns and all that stuff. That's when they added the 1 and the 5, making the basic progressive, as opposed to mambo, which mambo is not a progressive step.
Right.
It's forward and come back together, back, come back together. The other one is constantly progressing forward and back.
Right.
So that evolution caused the dance change. And then the music was changing and all of that. Bachata, I don't think it's going through that change. I think it's two separate dances. It just happens to share the same music.
Right.
You know what I mean? But but there is a lot of fusing, they're fusing both of them. So, take Pablo, for instance, in Spain, when he did the Bachata Masters, he put bachata music that was favorable towards Central,
right,
and then the Dominican. So you got like two performances when they're up there. They always try to mix it, but they failed. And basically one would end and the other one start, And I think that happening, right? People started to say, okay, we're going to perform it. We're not going to perform it like this. So they started mixing the two forms, right? So now they coexist. So it looks like at some point in the future, we're probably going to get one version and it's going to have everything.
I got you. Now, when did you start seeing, because, bachata is like street style. So when did you start seeing more of the technique come up in the dance community, like in the dance scene?
Like everything else, I never really, when I spoke to Corky, he says he was just experimenting and stuff like that, right? Mm-hmm. Like everything else, things are experimented, then you refine it, and then you basically express what works for you. Like Daniel and Desiree, what works for them. Alex and Desiree, what works for them, right? Corky and all of them. Everyone has what works for them, right? And then somehow you're either going to come up with a consensus that this is the technique, or you're going to have with 25 different versions. I think there's a lot of different versions right now.
Right now,
I don't think that bachata bachata truly has a technique that comes from Dominican Republic.
Right.
We have to respect that. Mm-hmm. But the whole other world is kind of expressing themselves and doing what they want. It's no different than hustle. Hustle has like 5 different basics. The majority use one specific one that's been determined the most effective over the years. But we still have a 4-count hustle that Ballroom did. We still have, instead of counting and 1, 2, 3, you have a version that's called Disco Fox in Europe that's counted 1, 2, and 3, the opposite way.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's like, you know, everyone's got a version.
Right.
I just think bachata is young.
Yeah.
In terms of communicating to the masses. And I think at some point, the cream will come up to the top and people will follow the most effective technique. That's what I think is going to happen.
So when did you decide to add it to your competition? Like, was it added to another competition and then you saw that and you thought, okay, I have to add it to my competition too as a category? Or were you also like with everybody else too and said, okay, we have to start adding bachata to World Salsa competition?
Yeah. When I did the World Salsa Summit, we didn't have bachata the first couple of years because it was called the World Salsa Summit. It wasn't called, you know, the World Salsa Bachata Cha-Cha Merengue Summit. You know, so I did that. But I think I started really including it when I went to judge Bachata Masters. And I saw how popular and I saw the level of dance being executed on stage. And I said, wait a second, this is worth having. Because up to that point, to me, bachata wasn't interesting enough to perform it. It was a good social dance, but it didn't have all the elements. I mean, and it's still right now stealing from all forms of other dances to enhance its presentation. When you look at bachata, you know, besides the footwork and now the turn patterns, they're taken from salsa.
Yeah.
The tricks, tips, and drops, they're taken from wherever they can get it. You know, they get acro sports and they do, you know, gymnastics and they do traditional dodge from ballet and they do tricks, drops, and whatever they can find, kitchen sink, whatever they want to throw in there, you know, but the point is, that's what I mean. So the dance has to steal or has to borrow to enhance their presentation because bachata on its pure own, I don't think that it's going to be extremely entertaining unless you are an educated bachatero and you're an enthusiastic one and really research it and you can appreciate when they do the fast footwork and you can appreciate all the musicality that goes on when they're embraced. Then that's not a problem. But the majority of the people, audience, are not that. They just want to be entertained. So when I saw the entertaining value of it, right, I said, okay, I'll add this because it has to have that. Mambo in the 50s, you know, you get Augie and Margo Rodriguez. They came out of that Palladium era. They had to add tricks, tips, and drops. They went out and studied other forms of dance to enhance their mambo. And what happened? They had a 20-year career. They performed with Sammy Davis Jr. They went on and had a fabulous career. And that's what happens. You have to, you know, at some point, you know, these social dances, these social dances that are rooted in our culture, you're going to enhance them. You're going to have to. Now, of course, we have the ones that don't want to add anything to it, but just a costume. But even that, if you're adding a costume, you're trying to do show business, right? Absolutely. So if you really want to be authentic, you just come up and social dance on a stage with your jeans on. You know what I'm saying? But how entertaining is that? Really?
We have seen that happen in the
of course, but it only happens in our little world.
Right.
If you take that and you try to put that on TV or you try to put that out there as a performing art, people laugh at you.
Yeah.
They're not going to pay. They're not going to buy a ticket to go see that. You know, but they'll see that at a Congress because a Congress is nothing but a recital with some professional performances and, you know, and workshops and lectures and stuff like that, right? So.
Well, we have a couple questions, so let me go through them.
I'll try to think because I'm on a 24-hour fast and I'm actually finished like at 2:00 I'll get a chance.
Oh, okay. We'll let you leave soon so you can eat. Lily, go for it.
What has been like the toughest style of dance for you to learn so far? Like the hardest one?
Me? Partner dance or any dance?
I'd say any.
I think the hardest form of dance for me was ballet. When I attended American Ballroom Theater, I went there and I was like, I would be in pain all the time. The recovery was insane. That for me, that stretching my body that way, manipulating my turnout, learning port de bras, my hands, all of those technical things that is like, in my opinion, the ABCs of dance is by far the most difficult thing I ever did in my life. Nice question.
Sophia, go for it.
What made you start dancing? Like, what was your inspiration?
I wanted to get out of school and hang out. I'm only kidding. Forget I said that. No, actually, it's a bit of both. I was raised in the Bronx, and in the Bronx, all the buildings are like cluttered together. Everybody knows each other. You know, the walls are like so thin that you can hear each other scream, and it's just so closely knit that we just partied all the time. So even at the yards in school, where like a new dance will come up, especially when I was listening to R&B from, when you listen to the Tramps or Stylistics or any of those people in the 60s, right? They used to come up with little dances like the twist, the jerk, a tighten up. These are all little dances. So we did them as kids, so of course, that's all we did. We danced and we played sports. And whoever didn't want to excel at sports went to dance, but a small percentage danced like me. You have to understand, back then there was a homophobic situation going on in the ghetto. So if I told them I'm a dancer, the first thing they call me is, they'll say I'm gay. But I can tell you a story. I used to take martial arts. I did martial arts because I'm also a black belt. And I used to have a bag. And in my bag, I would have my martial arts gi, but underneath my gi, I would have my ballet slippers and my tights and my dance belts so I could hide it just in case. I did that nonsense. But that's how I started. I was 13, 12 years old, started in the street. We would have battles. Don't forget, at that time, we were members of gangs and everything. And the gangs were kind of trying not to get into rumbles and fights or anything. So we were trying to find another outlet. And then people came up with, hey, let's go to these parties that they would throw, and the gangs would go with their colors. And that's how we ended up doing battles. That's how the whole battle thing happens, which right now is worldwide. And, the breakdancing situation and that. So that's how it all really started.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm old. I know all this stuff.
Okay, Anna, go for it. Anna?
Hey there.
Okay.
Hey. So my question is, at what point in your life did you know, or did you finally realize that dance was the career for you?
Young. I didn't have many opportunities when I was young. I did martial arts and I wanted to teach martial arts, but then I found out early I can't be a fighter because I don't know how to finish. In other words, when you knock someone, you have to go and knock them out. I didn't have that in me. So I knew I wasn't going to do that. I was like 15, 16 years old. I started to perform at around 15, 16. I think when I hit about 18 years old, 19, I signed my first contract with NBC. There was a television show on NBC called Don Kirsh's Rock Concert. And they signed me up. And I was like 18, 19 years old. And they told me to come down and be a choreographer. So they flew me to LA. And I went with a dance company and I did that job. Once I got that job, I said, wait a second, I could do this for a living. It looks like I could do this. And that's probably the time that I took it seriously. And I decided, okay, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. Yeah.
Adam? Adam?
My question is, what do you do now?
What am I doing right now?
Not right now, but what do you do now?
I wake up, I fast and get a headache and get pissed off. Then I go to my studio and I teach, and I do a lot of coaching. What I'm doing now is I do a lot of choreography and I coach other people that are inspired to be performers. And I consistently stay on the diet. I train, and I'm waiting for the COVID-19 to be over so I can go back on stage, basically. But I am going through some stuff. I had a hip replacement 2 years ago. I am 64 years old. I'm limited with time, but I'm still focused and I still want to perform. But I'm definitely still teaching. Like, I'm going to Italy at the end of the month to train Selena Simone, a couple from Italy. So I'm still very active. And I have the World Salsa Summit. I'm a promoter. So I promote, I dance, I educate, I mentor, and I do interviews like this.
Sounds exciting. Where's the favorite place that you've traveled?
I think the place that I like the most is Italy, because I don't know, I kind of like Italy. They speak Spanish there, but that's about it. And Las Vegas, because I like to gamble.
Oh my God.
I'm such a bad influence, right? Telling him to gamble, join gangs, and all this stuff.
Skip school.
Nah. Yeah, quit school, go to red light parties.
So before we continue with the other questions that the students have, I do want to ask one more question for you. Through your opinion, what qualities does a bachatero or bachatera should have in order to make it in the industry?
Wow. You really want to hear that?
We want to hear it. We want to hear it.
It's my opinion is based on what I see, right? And I've evaluated over the last, I would say, 7 or 8 years. You ever notice that the women that do bachata, usually their bodies are a certain type?
Okay.
Have you noticed that?
What do you mean?
Okay, let's talk about that for a minute. So you have Desiree.
Uh-huh.
You see her?
Mm-hmm.
She's got a terrific body. And Alex and Desiree.
Right.
Another one.
Yeah.
All of the girls that are the top girls, I'm not talking about, the top girls, all have a fantastic looking body.
Right.
Because their rear end has to be able to do specific movements. And you do articulate it a great deal with your rear end. And no matter what anybody says, that is a big selling point when you showcasing it on video, Instagram or Facebook, and becoming popular. You ever notice they turn their backs consistently? There's a reason for all of that. And that is rooted in the culture of Dominican Republic and the way they do it. You know what I mean? So that's where that's come from. So I think bodies, aesthetics, that has to happen. Of course, we got rhythm, isolation, and musicality, and you have to possess all those things.
Right.
Just because you know the dance doesn't mean you're going to be able to present it.
Sure.
But that's an interesting question. I evaluate a lot of that stuff. But then again, you have the how I feel about dances. I think dances should be a certain fit. You know how I feel about that. But I have to change with the times. I mean, you got an Alex and Desiree, and Alex is a big guy. He's a pretty big guy. Will I pay $150 so we'll see him in a theater? No. But in our world, he exists, and he's rhythmic, and he's musical, and he's got a great personality, so it works.
And he's an entertainer too, so
he's a bit of an entertainer, yeah. But I'm so old-fashioned. I'm still trying to wrap my head around the fact that we could have big dances. I use that word big. I shouldn't use that word. But anyway, but I have to be more open-minded, and I'm working on that,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we do have a couple more questions, and then we'll let you go so you can end it fast, okay?
I'm starving. You have no idea, Wendy. Oh my God. I've been on this fasting thing. Like you have 2 meals.
Yes.
And then you have to go 24 hours without eating anything.
Wow.
Yeah. So now I'm on my lunch and dinner day, because every other day, the next day I have to do breakfast and lunch.
Yeah.
You always have lunch, but you have to alternate the other two.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, it's
We
killing
used to
me.
do like intermittent fasting, but mine is only like 16, 18 hours every day.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. No, I'm severe right now. I'm doing it because I got to lose 2 inches around my waist. If I'm going to go back on stage, I got to lose 2 inches on my waist. You know how vain I am. I can't help that. I'm not going to go out there looking like that. Yeah.
All right. So Alisa, go for it, Lisa. And then Marlene.
All right. Sorry, I'm like a little bit sick. So, my question was, what's like your favorite style of dance to do for fun when you have time?
Salsa?
Mhm.
Yeah. I like salsa socially. I could do salsa all day. I mean, I like hustle. I like West Coast swing. I know the ballroom dances, but I don't really do them socially because I don't gather with any of those people. But I always say salsa because I love the music.
Mhm.
I grew up with the music and it's what I do. So that's my favorite dance. That's it?
Marlene?
So mine was like a two-part question. I noticed that you said you originally were from the Bronx. So my question was like the first part, what part of the Bronx? And then what is like, how was being part of that area in the Bronx more advantageous than other areas? If that makes any sense.
Okay. Advantageous in terms of what?
So like, do you live in New York right now?
Okay. So I live in Fort Lauderdale. I was
Okay.
raised in the South Bronx, which is 1227 Bryan Avenue.
So
That's
the very
mix
last
of
stop on the 2 train has like a different vibe than the very last stop on the D train.
the last stop
'Cause
on the D train.
Yeah,
I'm
so
trying
they're
to
two
figure out what's
different
the last stop on the D train. You got me thinking. Wait a
by
second.
Kingsbridge. So they're
Oh
like two
no, of
different
course.
areas
No,
of the Bronx. So I'm
Kingsbridge.
just like wondering.
Kingsbridge by Fordham Road and that whole
Yeah.
area, when I was growing up, was a pretty nice neighborhood. You know, it wasn't a nice neighborhood in the 80s and 90s, but in the 60s and 70s, that was a mostly nice neighborhood. Like that's not a neighborhood that I was living in. You know,
Okay.
South Bronx, we're talking about, the ghetto. That's the difference. Kingsbridge wasn't the ghetto at that time. And I think that what made it exciting is that we always found things to do. We had to because we had no money, so we had to make shit up. And dancing and hanging out, always playing music and all of that influenced me a great deal. It's just, I don't know. I don't know if it makes it better than any other place. I just know that that's all I know is the Bronx. You know what I mean? I don't know how to compare it. If you're asking me, I have no idea what it's like to grow up in New Jersey or grow up in Queens or Long Island. I do know that when I talk to them, they don't have the same experience I have. They don't. It was pretty tough for us to, the education wasn't great in the public schools we were at. There's people being shot all over the place. There was a heroin situation during the 60s and 70s. There was all over the ghetto, not just the South Bronx, but in Harlem, parts of Brooklyn. It attacked the Black and Latino community really bad. So I don't, having said that, you got all of these negative things going on, and then you have the small little positive things like dancing and playing baseball and football and, getting away from all of that other stuff. Mm-hmm. I was lucky, but not everybody's that lucky.
Right.
I hope that answered your question. I'm not too sure if I did or not.
You're good. It's okay.
Okay.
I got a question. So when you're going to perform, what's your first thought when you get on stage?
Ooh,
I don't have any thought.
So you just go for it?
Because that's the only thing. You prepare yourself through rehearsal so you don't have to be in your head. If you're on your head thinking when you hit the floor, you're in trouble. That means you have not rehearsed enough. You're not confident enough. You must prepare yourself so then when you hit the stage, the music and the lights go on, you just perform. And then when you're about to walk off, you say, oh, wow, oh, am I done? That should be the experience, not you're in your head and you're thinking about the next step, or you're thinking about how I'm going to perform to this public. And no, it should never be like that.
Yeah.
Never.
And did you ever had any trust issues with your partner? You know, and in salsa you do a lot of jumping and turns. So you know, sometimes when you're dancing with somebody for first time, you have that trust issue that, you know, I don't know if that person is gonna hold you good enough. You know, so I don't know if you ever had that kind of issues.
No.
No.
And I'll tell you why. Because before I pick anybody up, we're going to be dancing for a while. We're going to connect. We're going to discuss. We're going to talk. We're going to gain the confidence. Tienes que tener la confianza. Tú no puedes tirarte ahí a lo loco. You know what I mean? People can't just jump into their hands and just say, okay, let's do this and let's do that. That's ridiculous. And one of the things that I do is I make people exercise together to develop some skills, them together, to build confidence. You know what I mean? And then that before you do any tricks, tips, and drops or anything exciting, you know, to do. But no, I've never experienced it because I've always treated it a certain way. I'm not going to go there and rehearse with a girl and say, mira, mama, let's go do this. And I start picking her up and se pone loca. She gets crazy. You know, that's not safe. So no. But I've been lucky because I had some good instructors during my lifetime that helped me to understand that. But be patient. Okay. Be patient with your partner.
All right, Billy. I know you have
I
to
can go eat.
You can go eat. We want to thank you so much for being part of our last class and picking your brain a little bit about what bachata is, giving us an idea of what to expect from bachata, what, you know, the exciting thing about the future in bachata, and just hearing from you and your experience has been really, really nice. So thank you.
Okay, people. Te
All
veo.
right. Thank
Bye,
you,
Wendy.
Billy. Have fun.
Yo.
Eat.
Yeah.